Hello folks, today we're going to demonstrate the setup and use for a hand crank splitter attachment designed to fit the Osborne 86 bench splitters. This device was originally developed by Mr. Jack Meese of Lander, Wyoming. It has been slightly simplified for ease of production and is a real benefit to those using a lot of rawhide. It allows you to split your rawhide to a desired thickness in one pass. The drive roller grips the rawhide, pushes it into the blade on your splitter. The roller is adjustable for height with these screws. There is a stop to maintain adjustment. The roller slides back and forth with these two screws. There are index marks to show the position. The attachment is mounted to your splitter by these mounting studs. They replace the original mounting screws that hold the blade down on your splitter. In the next sequences here, we're going to go through the steps in setting this up, and then I'll demonstrate its use. Thank you. Our attachment is going to set on top of the splitter. The mounting studs that we will use will replace these original mounting screws. One thing that may be required on some splitters is the thumb lever, which pushes the roller forward, may need to be bobbed off a little bit on the inside. I scribed a line here, took my hacksaw to it, and clipped that little piece off. Then with a Dremel, I just knocked off the burrs. We need to remove just enough so that the drive roller end can slide past when we move the lever. We will begin our setup by removing the original mounting screws, replacing them with these two-part studs. Now, when I did this the first time, I noticed that the threads on the mounting screws for my splitter were not as sharp or as deep as the threads that we've cut in these mounting studs. If you encounter some difficulty putting these studs into your splitter, you might want to grab a tap and chase those threads. These are 3/8 by 16 threads per inch standard threads on these mounting bolts. Just run that tap down through that hole to clean those threads out so that you don't force things and possibly damage your splitter frame. I have previously checked my splitter for trueness so that the blade is the same height above the roller on both ends. If you haven't done that, I would suggest doing that before you mount this device. The bolts are tightened with a 5/8 end wrench. We're now ready to mount the roller attachment and drive mechanism on top of these studs. Our setup location for this drive roller is going to be slightly in front of the sharp edge of our splitter blade. We'd like to have about 1/16 of an inch of space between the teeth on the roller and the cutting edge on the blade. I found an easy way to set this up, be able to gauge my distance and protect the cutting edge on the blade was with some blue painter's tape. Take a piece of this tape, place it on the edge of the blade. I want this roller close, but I don't want it to ever touch that sharpened edge. This tape gives me an indication of when I'm getting close. We will back these pressure screws with the springs, release the pressure on those. You may even want to fully remove these. We'll loosen our lock screws here. I hope you can see the little index marks that we have in here. These indicate movement back and forth, and that is accomplished with these screws right here. Now, I have a nearly new blade on my splitter. We're going to want to have this moved to the far forward position. So I'm going to go ahead and move that right now. Now, as I get behind this and turn my roller backwards, I can see a sliver of light between the tape and the teeth on the roller. So I'll put my nuts on here to hold this in place, and then we'll start adjusting things to get the desired position. I might mention that one hole in the mounting plate for this attachment is slotted to allow for the different widths on the splitter frames. You can tighten these locking nuts. They have a nylon insert, so they're self-locking, but you will need a 9/16 end wrench to set these down. Okay, I have adjusted my roller forward to where it clears the blade. Now I want to adjust the height so that it's very close to the blade and will apply enough bite on the rawhide to push it past the blade. To make this easier and a little clearer, I'm going to remove the hold down screws with the springs on them. These little screws here adjust the height of the roller as it sets above the blade. This is where the tape comes in very handy, because it is difficult to see between the drive roller and the blade. But when I back these screws off, turn this roller backwards, I can feel a slight contact between the tape and the drive teeth. So I'm going to gradually move these screws until I don't feel any more contact. Now, I've raised that enough to where I don't feel any contact between the drive teeth and the tape on my blade. I'm going to adjust these screws until I feel no contact between the drive teeth and the tape that's protecting my blade. There we go. Now we're clear. I'm using a 7/16 end wrench. I'll hold that screw in position and tighten down my lock nut. After our height adjustment is completed, I'll raise the roller and remove this piece of blue tape. Then I can put these springs control the amount of pressure on the blade. I find that it works okay for me if I turn these screws in to where I see the bottom of the screw just wanting to come through the mounting plate. So I'll go ahead and turn those down to where I see those just about to come through the bottom of the plate.